Oh, no you don't, Yuri. Someone could get hurt with these. Don't you know there are better ways to relieve stress? Go to the beach. Go golfing. Play some GTA, I don't know, something. You are a beautiful young girl whose only cut should be out of this awful game. And sweet spaghetti, why do you have so many knives? That's right, the education system is going to crud. I'm just gonna steal this from your room, Sayori. I'm sure you won't mind. Also, we're moving you to a brand new apartment that's completely made out of pillows and filled with puppies. You can thank me later. Yes, Mr. Nitsuki, you heard me right. If you don't start treating your daughter with more respect, then I can't guarantee the safety of your TV screen or your collection of vintage baseball game VHS tapes. One slip up and the only bat you'll ever see is the one lodged in your 4K plasma screen. I assume there won't be any more problems. Ah, how do you like that, Monica? Huh? Oh yeah, I just undid all your terrible deeds. Oh yeah, how do you like that? What you gonna do about it, huh? What you gonna do?
Hello and welcome, fellow viewers. I'm Matt with my co-host Forge, and you're watching CPTV, your source of positive, family-friendly entertainment. Now, in all honesty, today's video is revolved around something that's, anything but family-friendly, but it's a subject that I've wanted to talk about for quite a long time, so I really want to get into it anyway.
Wait, is this gonna be that video where you talk about, oh no, that game? The deceivingly innocent indie dating game that took a horrible turn and caught everyone by surprise?
Well, yeah, didn't you read the title of this video? Anyway, yeah, I have no doubt that at this point in time, almost all of you who are watching this video have at least heard of Doki Doki Literature Club, or DDLC for short, and are well aware that there's definitely more to the seemingly innocent dating game than meets the eye.
And that you wish some of the imagery in this game never even met your eyes.
When DDLC first came out, the internet went completely nuts over it. Not only did this game introduce a dark, violent turn never seen in a dating game before, but it also introduced the concept of the main villain actually messing around with your game files. They could even tell if you were recording this game for YouTube. Yeesh!
But let's face it, the scariest thing about this game is how catchy the main theme is. Make it stop!
Now, as someone who tries to stay positive and always look at the bright side of things, you can probably guess what my overall opinion of the game is. That's right, I hate it. Okay, maybe hate's too strong a word, but I do feel a passionate detestation for this game.
So, you think it's a bad game?
Oh no, in my opinion, it was actually on its way to being a good game for like the first half. It's better if I explain. For most of the beginning, there wasn't exactly anything in DDLC that stood out to me. It just seemed like a typical run-of-the-mill dating game scenario. Nothing bad, but nothing amazing either. Characters did kinda grow on you though, and you could definitely tell that each of them kinda represented / poked fun at certain anime girl stereotypes. Sayori was the cheerful, energetic girl, Yuri was the quiet and somewhat isolated girl, Natsuki had the whole cold on the outside, caring on the inside trope going on with her, and Monica was the dastardly witch! Okay, well, we didn't know that yet, so we just assumed she was the optimistic leader type girl. So yeah, the game was just dialogue and word games for the most part. Nothing too fancy or out of the ordinary as far as I could tell, but then, halfway through the game, I was presented with quite a turn of events. And no, I'm not talking about the dark turn that you're thinking of right now. This is something I personally found much more interesting. It's that scene where you visit Sayori at her house and she starts acting less cheerful than usual. Then she gets really personal about herself and actually reveals to you that she suffers from depression. She also says that talking with the main character, as well as being part of the literature club, were a few things that kept her cheerful. But other than that, she apparently struggled on a daily basis. As the main character, you are given the choice to stick with her and help her with her struggles. This, right here, was what piqued my interest in this game. This is what I thought was part of the big quote-unquote twist of DDLC. I thought this simple game that was just posing as a cliched dating game was actually turning out to be a compelling story about real-world problems that many people unfortunately go through. I thought maybe that's what the point of this game was all along, to give you the chance to help a struggling individual with a very real and very heartbreaking problem, and in turn, maybe, just maybe, this game could act as sort of a beacon of positivity that could be greatly encouraging to people with struggles such as these. wrong I was! Just when I had a glimmer of hope for this game, it completely out of nowhere decides to go maximum overdrive creepypasta on us and kills off this poor young girl that we instantly started to feel sorry for, completely throwing the whole depression thing out the window like it was nothing more than a plot device.
And the sad thing is, it doesn't even stop there. They pull the exact same shtick with two other characters. Tragic struggle revealed, you feel sorry for her, dead. Tragic struggle revealed, you feel sorry for her, dead. Well, actually, she's more of a mixed bag, to be honest. I don't know.
I know the unfitting violence of DDLC is basically a meme at this point, but personally, when I was watching it for the first time, it just felt so out of left field. Especially when there was basically a gift-wrapped setup for a compelling and wholesome story. It's like if Pixar was developing the heartfelt movie Up for the first 8 minutes, and then some edgy teen took over storyboarding and made Carl a cybernetic serial killer who murders Ellie and everyone else and then breaks the fourth wall asking the viewer where a retirement home is. Now, speaking of which, this does lead me to technically the real twist. To the game's credit, the whole thing with Monica being self-aware and recognizing that she's in a game and can actually take control of said game is a pretty interesting idea. But I'm not gonna lie, it's a little hard to feel sorry for her when she clearly had a hand in axing off all the other girl characters you felt super sorry for in an attempt to get you to like her.
Oh yeah, kinda like how Loki thought killing an entire planet would win his family's approval. How's he doing, by the way? Ah, that's right.
No resurrections this time.
Now, if you saw the title of this video, you know I didn't bring all this up just to complain about it. Nope. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to take a hand at rewriting this whole game story in a more positive and uplifting way. Now keep in mind I'm not saying my ideas are superior to the actual game. What the developers did worked, and its popularity speaks for that. I just have a way to make it handle certain elements a little better. And trust me, I do this a lot for even some of my favorite games and movies. Sometimes I just like to reimagine certain stories in a different way. So, where do I begin with DDLC? Well, first and foremost, how about we remove every single bit of blood and shock factor? That really should go without saying. Now, I know you're probably thinking, silly, Matt, the blood and shock factor is exactly what makes the game so unique. Hate to break it to you, but, it really doesn't. There have been hundreds of creepypastas that have done the exact same thing that DDLC does. Taking something innocent and slapping blood and gore on it has basically been done to death.
Actually, Doki Doki Literature Club basically is a creepypasta.
I don't know about that, Forge.
Think about it. The main character is being threatened by a self-aware antagonist in a corrupt video game that has an overabundance of blood and gore as well as sensitive subjects that are only used for shock factor.
Gosh darn it, it is a creepypasta. And speaking of sensitive subjects, this is another thing the game could have handled a lot better. It really annoys me that things like depression, abuse, and self-harm, which are very real things that some people unfortunately have to deal with, are used as nothing more than shock gimmicks throughout the whole game. If you're gonna bring up things like these, shouldn't you at least work it into the story? How much more interesting would it be if they actually went somewhere with the main character trying to help Sayori? And then when he finds out about the struggles Yuri and Natsuki are going through, the game could become a really interesting test of setting priorities on who to help, when to help, and how to help. Wouldn't that be so much more of an interesting payoff than just brushing off all these heartbreaking backstories as just background noise?
I swear all four of these characters just deserve a huge hug. Though, for Monica, I'd probably disable her admin privileges before that.
Now, I know you're probably saying, oh, but silly, Matt, these characters aren't even that important of an element in this game. They're just a means to an end in order to get to Monica's motivation. Okay. Well, in all honesty, that just makes the sensitive subject matter even more pointless. If these characters aren't important to the story, what's the point of slapping these shocking things onto their characters if not simply for grabbing the player's attention? I just think if you're gonna have sensitive subject matter, it's important to treat it respectfully. Like, have it impact the story somehow. If they took all the shock factor stuff out and just had the three main characters simply getting deleted, nothing would really change. Oh, and speaking of getting deleted and just game stuff in general, could Monica being self-aware still work in this alternate story we're talking about? Honestly, yeah. Like I said, that's actually a very interesting and unexpected concept. On that note, I think the game did a great job building up Monica's reveal as it was. However, I do have some interesting ideas on how to change up her motivations a little bit. Instead of simply being another yandere stereotype, i.e. going through extreme lengths such as murder to get the main character's attention, what if Monica used her game-controlling abilities to slightly warp the three girls' personalities into that of typical anime tropes in an attempt to observe who the protagonist would like the most? This way her overall goal could come across as less psychotic and more like it's out of desperation. Like, she fears for her own life being trapped in a game and finds safety in being with the main character, but also wants the main character to like her. So the player could work his way up learning about each girl at a time as each struggle he learns about becomes more and more serious, until he reaches Monica, who's kind of at the peak of it. And then, just to make things even more interesting, the three girls could slowly start to come to the realization that they're not acting the way they should be acting personality-wise, which could be hinted at by the struggles they deal with early on. Then they each start to have an identity crisis at different points in the game, and the main character has to find out what the heck is going on. And who knows, depending on which ending you get, maybe you don't find out that Monica is self-aware, and you can only find out what the problem is when you get the true ending, and then the game could go Undertale on you and give you the choice to either delete Monica or try to reason with her. If you did the latter, that could lead to quite an emotional ending, where Monica says she's sorry and tries to reconcile with you and the other three girls. Afterwards, maybe Monica realizes she can use her reality-altering abilities to make things better and more fun for everyone. Personally, all this would get me way more emotionally invested in the characters than just a lousy payoff of violently killing them.
Hey, that's a good point. If she's so powerful, why doesn't she just use her abilities to make things better instead of more miserable? She really is Loki.
Now you're probably assuming that I'm against DDLC acting scary. Honestly, that's not entirely true. There were definitely some scares that, in my opinion, actually worked and weren't just forced in-your-face moments, like the glitches, or the music getting distorted, or heck, even Monica's presence was pretty unsettling from time to time. Seriously, you do not need blood and gore when her simple smile can already send chills through anyone's spine. For those of you who watched my Slender Man video, you can probably see where I'm going with this. I'm not a fan of horror, but when it comes to the type of horror that uses simplicity and atmosphere to build tension as opposed to blood and shocking imagery, that can seem a lot more effective to me. A good example of this would be the first Five Nights at Freddy's game. There was nothing bloody or shocking about the game, but it used the simplicity and the building atmosphere to the game's advantage, scaring you not with what you could see, but rather what you dreaded to see.
Oh, but Matt, FNAF is a terrible example to use. That franchise is overrated garbage.
I don't think FNAF is a bad franchise. Do you think FNAF is a bad franchise, Forge?
Hard to say. Maybe we should consult the Honest Game trailer.
So yeah, I do think DDLC could still have the unsettling vibe it's always had, just without the mindless, tasteless shock factor. It'd be really effective if the eerie vibe started settling in once Monica's true intentions were revealed, mainly the stuff with the glitches and the corrupt text and the creepy music, etc. That alone does a great job nailing home the unsettling feeling. But let's not make the blood and shock factor a part of it. I know the game puts a small warning at the beginning, and I even learned later on that there's a more detailed one on their website. I give the creators credit for doing that. It definitely shows that they're not completely tone deaf or anything like that. But nevertheless, this stuff still ends up being plastered all over YouTube and several other websites, and some of it might actually hit people a little too close to home and not in a good way. Like I said, sensitive subject matter can be used in a story if it's done well, but in this game, it's not. All the gruesome imagery is just used for shock. People even try to make this stuff humorous as memes and stuff, and it's just, ugh, no. Just no. But anyways, yeah, those were my ideas for Doki Doki Literature Club. Again, my ideas don't make this game inferior or anything, but I feel like I have come up with ways to handle the sensitive subject matter way better than the actual game does. As is, it's just shock factor for the sake of shock factor. And that's what always bugged me and made me not understand what all the hype was about. If it went in a different direction and made better choices with its concept, I probably would have found myself to be a way bigger fan. Some of you think I may be overthinking the nitpicks of this game, but I want to make it very clear how passionate I am against those who glorify tragic struggles and negativity just for the sake of attention. And dwelling on said negativity never helps anyone. And as mentioned, it's especially frustrating when people try to make this stuff humorous. Doesn't matter if people call it dark humor or whatever, this is not stuff to laugh at. So if you or someone you know deals with things like depression, abuse, or other struggles, never hesitate to reach out. And not just online, but where people are even closer to you in life, like friends and family. In general, just remember that you are not alone. People do care, and you are valued. There is always hope right around the corner, even if you can't see it at the moment. And even though you can't completely get rid of your struggles, you can live above them. You can move forward and do great things. We're all in this together. Sometimes this dark world is just a few lit candles away from being a little brighter.